Mayor Brown, welcome to Radio Parvasi. Good morning.
Morning. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Rajinder.
And I have Praveen Arora with me. He's a well-known broker and leading real estate guy in our community. So I'm already talking to him about this issue of development charges. So provincial government has a very ambitious plan. They want to build 1.5 million houses in next 10 years. But they have announced that they will be waiving off development charges. So we were talking that will this benefit will come to the buyers, or it will go in the pockets of the builders, and how they are going to compensate the municipalities.
So great to have Parveen on the show as well. You know, he is a well-respected real estate voice in our community, and a friend of mine. But you know, what I would say in terms of these provincial changes is, I think their growth plans are realistic. I think we can hit their targets. But I also believe part of the beauty of living in each of our communities is that we want to maintain the quality of life we have. And so by relieving developers of their responsibility to contribute to infrastructure, there's going to be a cost. Development charges pay for the community center, they pay for the recreation center, they pay for the roads, they pay for the bridges. And so what this change means is one of two things. One, that when you build a new subdivision, there's going to be no community center, there'll be no recreation center, there'll be no park, and it would just be houses. I'm not sure that's the quality of life we want in a new neighborhood. The other alternative is if you do decide to make sure that new subdivision has a park, like every other subdivision, if you want to make sure there's a new rec center, then you'd have to pass the cost on to existing homeowners to build it, which would mean a significant tax increase. And so the way it's always been done in Ontario is that developers pay a portion of it. And so, you know, I am concerned if we remove that contribution. There's no guarantee they'll pass the savings on to new home buyers. But I would say, you know, I've spoken to our Minister of Municipal Affairs, Steve Clark. I've spoken to the Premier. I've spoken to Parvasi Television, our local minister, and they want to work collaboratively. And they've told me, come up with a better way to do this. If you have ideas for how to change this, let us know. So the tone right now is very collaborative, and I hope that it stays that way and we can find a way to fix this legislation.
Okay. Another very important issue is of the green belt. So during election time, they promised that they are not going to touch it, but now they are determined to build houses on using this green belt area also. This is another controversial issue. And now, just now, I heard a news that our Minister of Environment, Federal Minister of Environment, has very clearly told that in case of any flood or flooding in this area, they are not going to compensate the residents. So this is another very serious issue.
So I think there's a few issues there. You know, flood mitigations and Greenbelt, I think, are almost two different topics. I would say we have had issues with flooding in Brampton, so I'm very aware of some of the challenges. You know, we saw that in the west end of Brampton last year in the spring, and of course we've had some historic floods in the downtown in Brampton, which is why we are building our Riverwalk project to help with flood mitigation. And so obviously what is built in the Greenbelt has consequences for lower lying municipalities. You know, I want to see all the details. You know, right now they're saying they're going to add more land to the Greenbelt than they're going to take out, and so you know, I'm certainly keeping an eye on this. But you know, a lot of times when new legislation is announced, the details are really in the regulations. Okay. And so the regulations that come out of the minister's office will be the ones that will really tell the tale of what this is going to look like.
Okay. Last question before you go. We need more houses. There's no question about that. And particularly cities like Mississauga or Brampton, where most of the immigrants are settling down. So what options do you have? What is your suggestions that how we can build more houses, but not at the cost of these things?
Well, I think other cities should follow Brampton's approach. You know, when I got elected mayor, the average approval time in the GTA, I think right now it's still 32 months for approval. In Brampton, we've got that down to 13 months. I think only Milton now is faster than Brampton, and so we've made huge strides in terms of our approval. But my goal is to get rid of the red tape. I know there is a lot of bureaucracy in the process, but we're certainly working on making that a faster, more transparent process.
Okay, Praveen, you have any question for Mayor Brown?
No, I think, good morning, Patrick, Praveen. I think, Patrick, you are absolutely right. I also believe, just eliminating the development charges, that may not help the public directly, but I think making the process faster for the development, I think that is the right steps to bring the developments faster,
Okay.
I think removing development charges, that is not the right solution.
Okay, so all of you 29 big city mayors are already united on this issue. Is there any differences on this, or we are all united on this issue?
I think there's a high level of unity on this. I'm actually at a meeting. I stepped out of this meeting because when Rajinder Saini texted to respond.
Okay.
But
thank you.
We're actually in a meeting of all the mayors this morning talking about this.
Okay, thank you so much. Keep talking. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Patrick.
और प्रवीण थैंक यू सो मच मेरे ख्याल च ਆਪਾਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਲਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਈ ਬ੍ਰੋਕਰੇਜ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਲਾਸਟ ਸੁਨੇਹਾ ਦੇਣਾ
ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਬਸ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਅਨਾਉਂਸ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹਾਂਗਾ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਸੰਡੇ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਫਿਸ ਦੇ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਨਾਲ ਆ ਜੀ ਕੋਰਟਯਾਰਡ ਮੈਰੀਅਟਸ ਹੋਟਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਇੱਕ ਨਾ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਰੱਖ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਜੀ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਚ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਇੰਟਰਸਟਡ ਰੀਅਲ ਸਟੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਆ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੋ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਾਰਕੀਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਇਆ ਜੀ ਜੋ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਸਿਸ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਜੋ ਅੱਜ ਚੇਂਜਿਸ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਜਾਂ ਬਿਲਡਰਸ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਨਵੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਸਿਸ ਜਾਂ ਜੋ ਐਡਜਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਮਾਰਕੀਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਂਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਰੂਪ ਦੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇਵਾਂਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਉਹ ਡਿਸਾਈਡ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਘਰ ਬਾਏ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਆਪਣੀ ਇਨਵੈਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਜਾਂ ਸੈੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਇਸ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਆਪਣਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਪਰ ਵੈਲ ਇਨਫਾਰਮਡ ਡਿਸੀਜਨ ਬਣਾ ਸਕਣ ਸੋ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਰਿਕੁਐਸਟ ਕਰੂੰਗਾ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਵਾਸੀ ਦੇ ਲਿਸਨਰਸ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਪਲਾਨ ਹੈ ਅਗਲੇ ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਘਰ ਵੇਚਣ ਜਾਂ ਖਰੀਦਣ ਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਰੀਅਲ ਸਟੇਟ ਐਕਟੀਵਿਟੀ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਇਹ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਜੁਆਇਨ ਕਰਨ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਸੰਡੇ ਨੂੰ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ 290 ਡੈਰੀ ਰੋਡ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਾਲੇ ਹੋਟਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੀ ਸਵੇਰੇ 11 ਵਜੇ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਸ਼ਾਮ ਦੇ 5 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਜੀ
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੀ 290 ਡੈਰੀ ਰੋਡ ਵੈਸਟ ਨੋਟ ਕਰ ਲਓ ਇਹ ਵੈਸਟ ਜ਼ੋਨ ਹੈ ਹਾਈਵੇ 10 ਤੋਂ ਔਰ ਜੇ ਹਾਈਵੇ 10 ਵਾਲੇ ਪਾਸੋਂ ਜਾਓਗੇ ਤੇ ਖੱਬੇ ਪਾਸੇ 290 ਡੈਰੀ ਰੋਡ ਵੈਸਟ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਦਫ਼ਤਰ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਫੋਨ ਨੰਬਰ ਹੈ 416 910 99 416 910 8923 ਪ੍ਰਵੀਨ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸੋ ਮਚ
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸੈਨੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸੋ ਮਚ